All righty. You, in fact, Mr. Marquette Moore? Just if you are, you can just shake your head and I can acknowledge. You are Mr. Moore? Okay. All right, Mr. Moore, we're about to start your bond hearing. This is the bond hearing. This is State of Georgia versus Marquette Moore. He's charged in warrant numbers 2025 CW 54000, false report of a crime, trafficking ecstasy, 2025 CW 70507, VGCSA, 2025 CW 70506, in possession of marijuana less than an ounce, 2025 CW 70508. Representing Mr. Moore is Attorney Thomas Florio. Representing the state is 88 Thomas. Go ahead, Mr. Florio, make your case.
And Judge, just for the record, that false report of a crime, that's a separate, unrelated
We
case. It's
did talk about that. You're
yeah,
right. Okay. All
yes, Your
right.
Honor. And so I believe we have bond set on the VGCSA, the THC wax, that's set at $5,000, and the possession of marijuana less than an ounce is 1,000. We're currently in a no bond posture on the trafficking ecstasy. Judge, and I know you heard the preliminary hearing on Monday, but just to hit some of the highlights, if you'll remember, the detective testified that there was no prior drug investigation into Mr. Moore, that Mr. Moore was unfamiliar to Clayton County Narcotics, that they did a deconfliction and there were no other agencies that were familiar with Mr. Moore. You'll remember the officer testified that they have no proof that Mr. Moore ever physically possessed any of the drugs. You remember the officer testified that they had no proof that as to when the drugs were placed in the apartment. You remember the officer testified that they had no proof that Mr. Moore was ever in the apartment at the same time as the drugs. Um, all those were all those were testified to by the detective. You'll remember that the detective testified that the leasing office said that Mr. Moore was not present at the home very often. You'll remember that there was no evidence presented as to foot traffic coming in and out of the apartment, no allegation of people suspecting that illegal drug sales were being conducted at the apartment, no allegation that drugs were being used in the apartment, meaning people standing outside smoking marijuana or an odor of marijuana emanating from the apartment. You'll remember that law enforcement alleged that there was this all started with an alleged break-in, active burglary at the apartment. You'll remember that there was no testimony presented that Mr. Moore was the one that made the 911 call about a burglary at the apartment. And curious to me, you'll remember the testimony was that this was evidently some sort of burglary at the apartment, yet the drugs were found in plain view in the kitchen, which is baffling that someone was actively burglarizing this apartment, but yet just left a the burglars were just so moral and upright that they left a trafficking amount of drugs in plain view in the kitchen. It's peculiar and quite frankly, it's preposterous that's what happened. Um, the evidence against Mr. Moore, we believe, is scant. I genuinely don't think that this case gets past a directed verdict if it were to go to trial, and it certainly I don't suspect it will go to trial because I don't imagine the district attorney's office will want to try this case at trial based upon the officer's truthful testimony at the preliminary hearing. I just don't see that this is a trial case. Um, to that extent, Judge, Mr. Moore is 28 years old. He has no prior felony convictions. He lives in Ellenwood, Georgia. He is a full-time student at Lincoln Tech, where he's going for HVAC. He has two boys, a 2-year-old and 4-year-old, both sons that live here in Jonesboro. Um, he does not work. He is not employed because he is a student, because he goes to school. So he doesn't work. His mother I don't mind saying his mother is the one that's retained me to represent him, not Mr. Moore, but his family has stepped up because obviously he's in custody and they don't want to see their son in the Clayton County Jail. He does have heart issues, and so he sees a doctor every 3 to 4 months for different heart issues while he's been in custody. He's received services from the sheriff's office related to heart palpitation issues that he has. Judge, he was born and raised here in Clayton County in Metro Atlanta. All of his family resides here in Metro Atlanta. He went to Brady Prep and graduated from Brady Preparatory School, which is located in the city of Atlanta. And so the entirety of his life, he's lived and remained in Metro Atlanta. All of his family, including his kids, live in Clayton County. He goes to school here in Metro Atlanta. As I said, no prior felony convictions. He's never used first offender on a felony case either. So I'm not trying to be slick by saying he has no prior felony convictions, but he finished a first offender sentence. No, he's never taken a felony plea in his life. Um, I believe, based off the facts of the case, and based off of his lack of criminal history, lack of felony criminal history, I believe that a bond in the amount of $35,000 is appropriate. I think it respects 35,000 total bond, Your Honor. So I guess I would ask for 29 or $30,000 as to the trafficking charge. And then I guess if you did 30 on the trafficking, that would leave us with 5 on the wax and 1 on the marijuana. So I guess that would put us at a $36,000 bond, total bond. But I would ask for a $36,000 total bond. Based off the testimony presented at the preliminary hearing, I think it's even high for that, but I don't want to ask for something that is unreasonable. And I understand this honorable court did find probable cause at the preliminary hearing. I respect the court's ruling, and I did respect your decision in this matter. But I think the testimony of the officer is truly is scant at best. And so based upon all of that, I would ask for a bond in that amount. Thank you, Your Honor.
All righty. Go ahead, ADA Thomas.
During the officer's testimony, one thing kind of stuck in my head and is still going round and around now. He made a distinction between the various ways that drugs are, I guess, trafficked or sold, and something in regard the difference between a stash house and a trap house. There was testimony that the defendant has actually lived in that apartment for particularly at his age, which is a little unusual. He's lived in that apartment multiple years. I think maybe 3 or 4 years he's lived in that apartment. And the apartment management were able to say, hey, we never had no problems out of him. From what we can tell, he's hardly never there. Well, Your Honor, from what my understanding of the officer's testimony, that is consistent with somebody who is actually running a stash house in that particular location. That's the location where you store your drugs, any weapons you may have, any money. That's where you package everything. That's the location that you definitely do not want to be on anybody's radar. You're not going to have people going back and forth at your stash house. That's why it's a stash house. Your trap house is where you go to actually deal drugs and where people can go back and forth and everything. If that trap house is raided, you're not going to really find anything there. But what you find at the stash house is where you find the large amount of drugs, which is where you found the weapons, which the officer indicated that he did find a weapon at the location. In proximity to where the drugs were found, you found this defendant's passport. The officer indicated in multiple rooms they actually found mail and what have you addressed to this defendant. In addition to the fact that the apartment complex were able to confirm that he is in fact the person that is on record as being the lessee of the location. The state will contend that he is the lessee of the location, that he is the one. People don't break in your house, leave drugs and leave. That's not how it works. He may have inadvertently, I believe the officer's testimony was regarding the actual burglary count, and there was not much testimony regarding that because that was not what was before the court. But what I recall the officer saying is that the door was open. Now, the door may have been wide open. The door may have just been ajar. He may have forgotten to pull it up completely behind him when he left to go wherever. Nevertheless, the likelihood of somebody actually coming into the apartment, leaving drugs and leaving or coming into the apartment intentionally, seeing the drugs and leaving the drugs is slim to none. I've been doing this over 30 years, never heard of either one of those two scenarios occurring. What is more likely that it's his apartment that he's using as a stash house, and that may also explain why he's hardly ever there, because it's probably not where he actually lives. He may sleep somewhere else and conduct his business out of that stash house. So in that regard, Your Honor, state would contend that the bond amount that is currently, or actually this does not have a bond. Your Honor, state would be asking for, and I believe the recommendation was made by DA Tasha Mosley on the ecstasy trafficking. I believe her recommendation was of 100,000. On the VGCSA warrant number 70506, that recommendation was 10,000. On the weapons, we're not considering that. It was dismissed by the court. And on the possession of marijuana, that bond amount was set, I believe, by a first appearance at $1,000. Your Honor, I believe that will leave us at 111,000 total, if my math is correct. Oh, and one more thing, Your Honor, I almost left off. Your Honor, this gentleman has, Mr. Florio is correct when he says that he has no felony convictions. He does, unfortunately, have a conviction for misdemeanor possession of marijuana and a probation violation that goes with that particular charge. And that's all the state has, Your Honor.
And refresh my recollection about how much ecstasy was found.
Judge, there was, I think, 60. It's a tier 1 trafficking. I think it was 66 grams. I can tell you what's alleged in the warrant. It's
located out of the residence in a plastic sandwich bag. I believe, Your Honor, my recollection of the testimony, I believe, on the kitchen counter.
69 grams, Your Honor. 69 grams is what's alleged in the warrant.
Yeah. And the passport was found in the kitchen drawer.
Judge, may I respond?
Yes, you get the last word.
Judge, I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
$100,000 is preposterous. I mean, it's ridiculous. I represent Martha Chavez, who's out on bond, who got caught with 50 kilos of cocaine in Forest Park by the DEA, and she's out on bond. We got a $50,000 bond on trafficking cocaine and $50,000 on trafficking methamphetamine for a total of $100,000. I mean, that's $100,000 for ecstasy pills. I mean, I don't care if he's the most guilty person in the history of people being guilty, which the testimony at the hearing, it was not that. And I guarantee you the detective thought, well, the detective had an opinion about how that hearing went for him, because I talked with him after the hearing. So the detective understands there's issues with this case. But $100,000 it's absurd. Number one, we can't make it, but it's just not even consistent with any sort of bonds that are typically given in Clayton County. In addition, I guarantee you Sheriff Allen doesn't want him sitting in a jail where they're already terribly overcrowded on a bond that no one can make for ecstasy. And the testimony at the preliminary hearing was that there was forced entry made into the apartment and there was an active burglary. Because if you remember, Ms. Thomas even asked the detective about securing the door after it was over with. And he said, yeah, we did go back and secure the door. So this was not just the door was left ajar, but the apartment was broken into. And that was the officer's testimony, not my testimony. That's what the testimony of the officer
I'm sorry,
was.
Your Honor, I need to object on this one. That's not why I asked that question, Your Honor. It had nothing to do with the burglary itself. And that's not how the question, that was not the context of the question that I asked at the prelim, Your Honor. That question was asked in regards to leaving that warrant. Did they close the door behind them? They did.
Right. I remember that.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I guess Your Honor will remember, but my recollection was that there was forced entry made into the apartment and an active burglary, and that's why someone, the detective didn't know who, but that's why someone called 911. Your Honor will remember the testimony as Your Honor heard it. But I do a lot of trafficking cases in Clayton County. I get hired on more cases than any other private attorney in the county. I'm very, very, very familiar with bonds. I'm very, very, very familiar with these cases. And the bond that I've proposed is commensurate with other bonds, similarly situated bonds with similarly situated clients. $100,000 is just not, it's in no way consistent with bonds that I've gotten. And so I would ask for a bond in the amount that we've requested this morning. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so, I do, find the amount of ecstasy found concerning. These drugs inevitably would have ended up on our streets here in Clayton County for oftentimes our children to consume. And so, I have some hesitation and concern about, ecstasy and the amount that is, that was found. I am taking into consideration the fact that he resides in Georgia. He's lived here all his life. I'm going to take into consideration his finances, which sounds like, excuse me, counsel indicated that he was not employed and that he was a full-time student. I don't see any prior, I know he had some history, but I don't see any issues with him returning to court with the prior issue that he had. And so does he go to school online?
No, Your Honor, he goes in person.
He goes, and where's Lincoln? Where's that school?
I don't know the city.
I'm sorry, Deputy, if you will unmute him.
And I turned myself into all these charges too.
Marquette, what city do you live in? I mean, what city is Lincoln Tech in? We didn't hear you.
Camp Creek.
Okay, so College Park.
Camp Creek. And I turned myself in on all these charges too.
Okay. All right. All righty. All righty. So I am going to do as follows. Let me give you the conditions first. Mr. Moore. I want you to limit any, I want you to be at home, and that you are only to leave home for the purpose of going to the doctor, going to school. So this is almost like a home confinement. I don't want you, I just want you to be, because again, I have a lot of concern with the amount. This is not a trial, so I don't know if you're in fact guilty. Your counsel has made some significant arguments.
Well, I have kids that I have to pick up from daycare and school.
All that you can do, that's fine. I'm talking about being caught in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, coming from a club. Things like that.
Yeah, no, ma'am. I don't go to those.
Okay, I'm just saying that I want to limit what you do to your necessities. If you have kids, picking up the kids from school, going to the doctor, coming to court, those sort of things. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you heard the state's recommendation for $100,000 on the ecstasy. I do not agree with that. I do believe that is excessive. So I am going to do, six, that was THC wax. That was
It was.
marijuana.
It was. Yes, Your Honor. It was THC wax. I think it was 2 grams of THC wax.
Okay. All right. So on the THC wax, I'm gonna take 10,000 down to 5,000.
Which part is that, Your Honor?
Judge, it's already set at 5,000. It's set, he set at 5,000 on the THC wax and 1,000 on the marijuana. We just have no bond on the ecstasy, but it's 5,000. He got that at first appearance.
Hold on. All right. Okay. You're absolutely right. So 5,000 on the THC wax. The marijuana, I'm gonna go to 500. Actually, I'm gonna do on the THC wax, I'm gonna do 2,500. So 2,500 on the wax, 500 on the marijuana less than an ounce. And then on the ecstasy pills,
Yeah, they got 3 things in there.
I'm gonna do I'm gonna do 40,000 on the ecstasy.
Thank
So
you, Your Honor.
his total bond is 43,000.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And so are you gonna compose that order?
Judge, I can. Yes, ma'am. I'm in Henry County in court right here, but I can send it over within the hour. Yes, ma'am.
All righty. And then you could find out from the defendant where he's going to be residing and get a good address for him.
Yes, Your Honor. I will. I think I've got his address. I have it. I'll include that in the bond order.
That sounds good. All right. Anything further?
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Just a question from the state, regarding the defendant's residence. Is that something that the court would like to have on record, even if the address is provided later? Is he gonna be like with his mom? I'm assuming he's not going back to the incident location.
No, that's my lease. There's no lease there no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
Your Honor, is he Atlanta?
That's what I need Attorney Florio to put that information in the bond order, where he's going to be residing.
Marquette, do you want to tell the Honorable Judge Kate Johnson what address you'll be residing at?
5494 Platt Drive, Ellenwood, Georgia.
Wait, slow down. 5494.
Platt, PLATTE.
Okay, drive.
Drive, Ellenwood, Georgia, 30294.
Okay, Ellenwood. All right. What's the zip?
30294.
Thank
So
you,
that's
sir.
5494 Platt Drive, Ellenwood, Georgia, 30294.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All righty. Anything further?
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, Thomas, hold on. She didn't say.
I'm assuming, Your Honor, that this would include the standard conditions, no violations of law, no weapons, no more drugs, stuff like that.
Well, drugs are illegal anyway, but
I'll include all those standard, cannot violate the law, cannot have weapons. I'll include all of it. All the standard conditions, I'll make sure, and I'll include you on the email, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
right. Thank you. I think that concludes our calendar for this morning.
It
Thank
does.
you, Your Honor.
All right. Have a great one. Good luck
Thank
to
you,
you
Your Honor.
tomorrow.
Thank you.